Hello. Well, here we are. Uh, Once again, it's hard to start. And I think the thing is, it's so easy to prepare or to for these kinds of things or to pretend to prepare, but to put things on preparation as a way of avoiding actually just doing it. This isn't perfect. This is actually really, really bad. I understand that. I totally get that. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm try to talk about things other than preparing because what did we just talk about? Not just preparing, which is, I think, something I could tend to do if I don't watch out. And so I'm just going to start doing. Uh, it's funny. I've been talking about uh, getting into video, just playing with video. And again, I'm not looking for anything, just looking to learn how to use the tools because it's part of the modern world as opposed to the written world. So this is going to seem a little bit like a walk back, I suppose. I'm trying to look at more of this integration in terms of writing. Uh, I It's kind of a backstory. Uh, you know how you hear people say, "I can't do math. My brain doesn't work that way." Well, I used to be okay at math. Uh, and it always kind of annoyed me that people would say that. Not so much just because they're poo-pooing math. Often though there is that kind of justification of, well, I'm a creative, I don't do math. But also, it's like they're shortchanging themselves. I think oh, I can't do math. Well, certainly there are people, there are savants, and we can't really compare ourselves to them. And there are people with more or less ability in that area, but it's largely a practice skill. Uh, and I do think that people maybe don't get taught some strategies to make that work better, to make that easier. Um, but mainly it's they're shortchanging themselves that they just can't do it. Very much the talent idea. Oh, you're very talented at piano. Yeah, well, maybe that person busted their ass for 10 years working on doing their scales and working on things to play that way. It's not just they magically burst forth that way to play piano. And it's the same thing I think with math. Why do I bring that up? Handwriting. That goes back to the walk back maybe of I'm doing video because writing is ostensibly dead. It's not dead. It's just maybe not the primary for a lot of people. Um, I remember in fourth grade, I got sent to remedial handwriting class for about 2 weeks. And after about 2 weeks, they just said, go back to regular class. You're not getting any better. So I convinced myself, and honestly, to some extent, had that same badge of honor that's like, oh, well, my handwriting's terrible. Just like the old doctor joke and these sorts of things. And tried to maybe convince myself that it didn't matter, that, it's the idea that's important, not the writing. But, there's something to be said for expression and presentation. Because the funny thing is, I always thought that calligraphy was really cool. And I think a lot of people do. It's pretty, it's beautiful. Uh, and so there was that cognitive dissonance that I thought handwriting looked cool and was cool. And I couldn't do it. So maybe to some extent, I was, had that envy of not being able to do it and to discount it because of that envy. And at the same time, I hypnotized myself that I couldn't do it. But then I think probably during COVID, I was actually working on some scuba diving instructional materials and, uh, reminded myself that about math and that how annoying I found it. Not the people themselves being annoying, but that there's this narrative device that people trap themselves into that they just can't do it. So I thought, well, maybe I should train myself to improve my handwriting. And to some extent, I did. Um, I'm still not that great at it, not very good at it at all, but I had a marked improvement. Um, so it's something, that's like I laid off, and it's something that I'd like to revisit. Maybe that's something we could do. Uh, Admittedly, here, I'm going to go ahead and put this down, just a piece of paper so I don't get any ink on it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with drafting dots. Old school manual drafting, they're sort of dots that are essentially masking tape. They're very low residue, uh, but especially if you're working on a sloped drafting surface, you can put these on the corners and hold your workpiece down. Manual drafting also is gorgeous. Something I'd like to maybe take a look at. But let's not get the cart before the horse. Um, Admittedly, one thing I think maybe I even started this way, a little gravy first. Always wanted a cool fountain pen. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these things. This is the vanishing point fountain pen. What I like about this, unlike a traditional fountain pen, is you can, it's a clicker, like a Bic. Uh, Currently, it doesn't have any ink in it. As you can see right here, this is why I went ahead and, is that too saturated, you think? Should I bring that all the way down? Not too much brightness. You know what, let's turn it off, see what it looks like. Yeah, let's go with that. Right here, there's a link there. It's just cleaning it. We'll get into this. I'm going to use an ink cartridge. I use an ink cartridge as opposed to an adapter, and we can cover that later, because the cool thing about this guy is, and this is why I think I wanted a toy, even though I'm terrible at it, is it's a click style. You don't have to take off just like a Bic, and I just thought that was so cool. Always wanted one for years. Finally found one at a reasonable price, and it's really become a go-to. But I just like the fact you didn't take you didn't have to unscrew a cap and post it, which is where you put the cap on the back, uh, and wanted a fountain pen. And so then I thought, well, you know what? Let's get a toy and let's learn how to do some handwriting. Um, so the fountain pen's really fun to do. Uh, Interesting thing about fountain pens is they come in a bunch of different nibs. This is a stub nib. It's a little weak right now because I just put the cartridge in, so the ink hasn't really started to flow, and I did clean it out. So it's going to be just a little bit before it really takes off. But the neat thing about a fountain pen is the line width varies, unlike a ballpoint. Now you can get fountain pen nibs that don't vary much, monoline. But if you notice, if I drag down, it's it's basically the nib, sort of shaped like looking at the top from the top, sort of shaped like this. Uh, that's a really poor representation. But if I draw sideways to the nib, it's thin. If I draw down, it's thick. So it sort of becomes an auto fancy in that the line weight will vary. And with a lot of fountain pens, depending on the type, pressure will also make a big change. Uh, so it's a neat little device. Ooh, that looks a little off color. Let's not go there, not for right now. Uh, but they're really fun, and they've really offered me a lot. So hopefully we can look back at some handwriting. Excuse me for just a moment. But how do you get started? I mean, what do you do with that, right? You got a pen. Okay, you got a pen. And it can be ballpoint. It can be uh, there we are, getting a little better there. Again, I just did the super clean on it, soaking the nib in water and whatnot. So usually if you just run out of a cartridge and just switch cartridges, they run fine. But if you let the ink dry, you do want to clean it out. And it's no big deal, just water. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so you got a pen. So how do you get started? What do you do? Uh, just sit there and draw letters and hope it gets better. I did this. I got this book. These guys, I think, are down in Portland, Oregon, and it is a brilliant, brilliant book. Uh, I find. Um, it really discusses, it gives you some strategies. It gives you some things to do. Yes, it has exercises, but it lots of exercises, but it discusses how things work and why things happen, how you do joiners, and what you do. And it starts with italic script, which is print, what we would call printing, and moves on from that. And it gives you some things about what angles you should work for, and how descenders should work, and how to even hold the pen. And then it moves into a very interesting thing. We hear about cursive, and we say, should we learn cursive or should we not learn cursive? Well, there's all kinds of different kinds of cursive. Um, they actually teach which is called cursive italic, which is basically the same italic, the same print letters. Cursive just means joined. It just means that the serifs, which are the little tails on letters, hook up together and create cursive, which is the flowing from unbroken from letter to letter. There's always some breaks. Uh, so this is probably a half-done copy. I've worked through this once before. Uh, they teach italic cursive, which is basically those print letters just joined, which is different than when we hear that kind of schoolyard cursive, uh, which is called roundhand, which is the loops where the L is like this, the G is like this, the H is like this. Um, in italic cursive, that's not really the case. The L is straight, or excuse me, the G, my apologies, uh, that G, that's an italic cursive. The G, the H are still their print counterparts. Uh, Light versus Light, italic, roundhand. Now, I think roundhand was developed just to get rid of all the unbroken things, so it's all loopy doopy doopy. Um, that can actually, I find, can get really, really unclear, and they discuss in the book why. Not saying people who are good at it, it can be beautiful, and people who are good at it can make it look really good. But that's not the only option. And that schoolhouse Z that oh, that's a cursive Z. There's a Z that's just like that. Zoo, right? That's a cursive Z. It's italic cursive. So we don't have to be, cursive isn't just one thing. And, in a personal writing style, you get to choose. I'm a big fan of this italic cursive because it is just learning to write a good print, a good italic, and leverages that. And the cursive version of the italic is just cursive with, or excuse me, just italic, just regular print with some modifications to make it cursive, to make it flow, which I think is better than this whole, oh, we have to start over and learn how to write a different way. And that's what I worked on 3, 4 years ago, I guess. Well, three, yeah, during COVID. I got pretty good. At one point, I actually went to physical therapy for a back problem, and for the first time in my life, I filled out my forms, and for the first time in my life, unbidden, my therapist was like, "Nice handwriting." First time anyone ever said that to me, which sort of broke the spell of I can't do this. My brain doesn't work that way. Blah blah blah. It's not. I can't. I can't. I can't. Kind of done with I can't with that kind of stuff. I can learn these things. I'm not going to be that great. I mean, there are people that have had good handwriting for so long that they're just better than I am, if not by talent, then by decades of just having great handwriting. Funny thing is, learning to handwrite better allows me to appreciate other people's handwriting. Go, wow, that's a great hand. Uh, and it can just be fun. And you know what? Now, like at a party, if I want to make a label for this bacon has pepper sauce on it, I can do that. It used to be just embarrassing and almost crippling in terms of I'd have to have somebody else write it. Like I couldn't do that. Uh, and I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. So I'm not going to be that guy. And so I guess in terms of preparation, in this video, I'm umming and I'm humming and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have good lighting. I got shadows. I've got a pen that I didn't properly clean before. And I'm getting to, ooh, look at that. I'm getting to write um, as we go. And I'm stalling because maybe this is, maybe right there. This is the example. Ooh, see, that's terrible. I don't, okay, I'm not going to get, you know what? I'm not going to say terrible. I'm not going to go there. But it's already writing better. Just like this video. I felt unprepared, shadows, all this. The pen didn't work. Just by virtue of writing, the pen is flowing. And maybe I can flow too. Uh, you wouldn't have been able to read that before. I'm not saying that's great. And I've been off practice a year or 2 years, maybe almost 3 years. But I can gain it back. I've got an order a fresh copy of this. Uh, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it from them. You can find it just right now. If you want to, grab a copy of it. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit down in the morning, have a cup of coffee, do a couple pages. We'll call it good. Kind of funny about that. When I first got the book, doing a page was torture. It was torture. It was awful and kind of boring, and I just felt terrible about it. Uh, but I'm just going to do a page. Just going to do a page. And I did. After about a week, I bet it was probably 4 days, a week, 4 days to a week, where it just doesn't feel very fun. Take me 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe. Uh, Started flowing, and then it actually became enjoyable, became meditative. Lost track of that. You know how it goes with the world. You just uh, the world gets in the way, and you stop doing things. Uh, and I miss it. And my handwriting has regressed considerably, but I've done it before, and I think I can bring it back again. Uh, so I'm going to do that. I urge you, grab a copy of this book and uh, sit down with it. Open it up. We can maybe do it together and just do it. Uh, in terms of the writing implement, I wouldn't suggest a what's called an edged pen. This is a stub nib, but a monoline, which handles more like a ball point. You can totally use a ball point, but you can also use um, a fountain pen that doesn't have a thickness. And you know what? I'm going to cover that in a different video. Maybe I'll cover that tomorrow. We'll kind of get our materials together. I don't think my book will be here for a day or two, but maybe we can sit down with materials. Uh, it's just getting going in something. Yeah, I could have very easily cleaned my area and not made this video and worried about, oh, I didn't have a good mic, or I didn't have good lighting, or I didn't have this, or I didn't have that, and I still sound like I sound, and I should improve my handwriting before, and all these things. You know what? I just don't care anymore. It's just going to do it, just about doing it. Uh, okay, well, hey, thanks for stopping by and watching.